What's up, guys? Kevin Rogers, owner, operator, and professional window tinter for On Point Pro Styles in Gainesville, Georgia. This video, I want to talk about double shrinking. What is it? Why do you do it? Why is it important on a lot of windows? And how do you do it? So I've got some film on this car back here that is 3/4 shrunk. We're going to finish the initial shrink on the last quadrant, and then we'll talk a little bit more about double shrink, what it means, and how to do it. So let's get to it. So as you can see, I've already started shrinking on this. I've got the film laid out on the car. I shrink the top and bottom on that side, the top on this side. We're going to finish the initial shrink on this side, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. We'll cut it to size, and I'll show you what double shrinking is. So let's get this shrunk out, which again is the initial shrink. You want to make sure on any shrink that you're thoroughly shrinking the film. You don't want any loose film behind you, because that's when you get little bubbles, we call them peanuts and puckers on the inside of the car. So you want to make sure you shrink it nice and tight and fully. And if you're going to get any puckers, you can usually identify them if you have the right tack out here. You can usually identify them on the outside of the car before you ever get it to the inside. So. Puckers and bananas and little bubbles on the inside, we'll discuss in another video on how to identify them and how to prevent them. But this double shrinking will greatly help reduce that, at least where you double shrink it. So it shrunk. Most people would trim this out, wet it, install it. In a lot of cases, I see it all the time. After you install it, it looks great out here. You install it on the inside, you end up with a few fingers on the bottom that you're chasing. You should know, fingers create a vacuum. Every time a finger pops up, it's drawing up anything below it into that finger. So when you mash that finger down, if it's got contaminants in it, it's going to mash into the glue. Be a little bit of an eyesore. So we want to prevent that. We want to put the film on the inside of the car. We want to squeegee it all down, hit the bottom with our bottom edge tool, and be done. No fingers, no bubbles, no nothing. How do we do that? Stick with me. Let's get this trimmed to size, and I'll show you how. So there it is. I have my pattern cut to size. Like I said, it looks good. There's no bubbles, there's nothing popping up anywhere. You would think it's ready to go. In my experience, chances are you get it to the inside of the car, you risk a finger. Even if it's just one, it's annoying. You got to get all the way out of the car to find it, get back into the car. Sometimes they're hard to see. You push down on it, you get all the way back out of the car, find out it didn't work. So one way to stop that is double shrinking. It's literally tightening up the edge. You don't want to over shrink it and over tighten it to where it wants to curl back off the glass, but you want to add a little bit more curl to that, provided that the slip is good, you got a good enough adhesive on it, it's going to stick. So how do we do it? We take a corner, now that it's shaped and ready to go, we take a corner and we lift it up. We want that whole edge to lift. Just like that, lay it back down. I smash my sides down, and you can see it creates more loose film. So let's shrink it again. I'm just adding heat to all the little bubbles it created above. That goes back to that issue with puckers. Tighten this film completely up. all the way to the bottom. I'll spare you the details of going over there, but we'll go ahead and just do it over here. Same thing, lift it up where it passes the side, or the middle over here, smashing down my side, and then we're going to just heat up all the little bubbles just a little bit. Not the real tiny ones, you'll tighten them up so much it almost acts like a crease. If that's the case, just lift the film, pump a little air under it, heat it, and push it out. Just like I've got one right here. Not a big deal. We're gonna lift the film, put a little air under it, heat it, push it straight out. So stay away from the tiny, tiny little thin looking bubbles. Make sure that edge lays down, nice and tight, and you get a really good, thorough shrink from it. Let's do this again. There we go, nice and done. So there you go, that's a double shrink. You're just tightening that edge up just a little bit more than a standard initial shrink, so that when you put this film in, you're essentially stretching the film out across the glass, and it's pulling that bottom and top edge nice and tight. Give it a shot. If you don't do it and you've chased fingers in the past, give this a try, see what it does. Can't hurt. I do this on every single car that I do. I'll even double shrink the doors. So another video, but after I shrink the bottom edge of a curvy door, I'll actually lift the film, create some more air underneath it, and shrink it again. Creates that nice tight bottom seal that then stretches across the bottom of the glass once it's installed. No chasing fingers later. So there you go. I've trained double shrinking. I have advised people to double shrink. I've seen tinters chase fingers later, and I try to help them out and tell them to try the double shrink. So may not be your cup of tea. Maybe your first shrink does it all. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, it's just another little tip on how to do things a little bit more maybe efficiently and not have to chase things later, and hopefully get it done the first time. So anyways, tint and tools from tintdepot.com. I also have the Workhorse 2 plotter from plotterdepot.com, and I use Film Cut as my plotter software from plotterdepot.com. If you have any questions, reach out to them. They're happy to help. Reach out to me, Kevin Rogers, On Point Pro Styles in Gainesville, Georgia. I'm happy to help. Thanks for watching.